And we're back with some more oxygen not included. And we're just going to finish off our little base today, our little underwater colony. Oh my god. That's an awful lot of water pressure. That would make me very nervous if I was a duplicant, and I could actually feel nervousness. Alright, well, duplicates, I just assume they can't. Just considering the environments they run into with those happy grins on their faces, they just can't have concerns. We are making a bit of a change around here. Turns out someone gives you a good idea, you're like, wait a minute, that makes so much sense. What we've been doing is we've been sinking these lamps into the ground to provide light for our future bristle blossom crops. However, what we could do, just reverse it. Instead of sinking them down, put this up one tile, and this lamp here can now reach 7 tiles. It's not perfect, but it does mean we can hit 7 tiles, and this tile here, we get to use it as well. So we get to cram in more crops in the same area. It'll cost us a little bit more power, but that's why we built a nuclear reactor in our lair. You know, we can afford a few extra lights. As well as that, it should work out nicer for using these sweepers, because before we had to cram the sweepers in between here and we couldn't, well, they basically had to have their own individual conveyor loaders. Now, I think with this, we should be able to get 2 sweepers to share a conveyor loader between them, and it might make constructing this just that little bit simpler. Anyway, give me a couple of minutes here while I finish changing our design around. While we wait for some of this automation to go in, I'll just go over the reasons why this is actually a nice way to do things. When it comes to this auto sweeper, you see, say this one here, it can grab this entire section here, and then it can dump it into that conveyor loader. So this one can grab this section here and dump it into that conveyor loader. There's a little bit of overlap here, but we can't really avoid it with the way the lights spread it out. And then these two over here both feed into this conveyor loader. This means we're able to cram the whole thing down to 3 conveyor loaders and get almost the entire row. For example, this goes out to here, and I figured out, I've done all the math on this, and if we just go out to here all the way up, we will be able to run about 324 bristle blossoms. We need 300 to be able to consume 10 kilos of water per second, which is the target. So the extra 24 just will act as, well, extra, because the moment they max out or they finish growing, I think they stop drawing water. We'll have to see. And then over here, these 4 can be removed and we'll replace them with something else. It just gives us more room to work with for putting in our living areas and a few other things. And over here, there was another great suggestion. I will be the first to admit this is going to be a little bit of just more style over substance, but what we're going to do here is we're going to automate the steam turbines and hook them up to the batteries so that each one comes on one after the other. In fact, let me just do some changes to the wiring here, because this is going to be a little bit awkward. This here is the new automation. It's more rolling. What happens is, if the battery here goes below 80%, it turns on the steam turbine until it hits 90. Then, if this battery hits 80%, or 70%, it keeps going until it hits 80. So what should happen is this steam turbine should come on first to start charging the batteries. However, if it's not generating enough power, then this one will come on. Then this one, then this one. They sort of roll on one after the other. So only the ones that are necessary. It's just sort of nice. So this one will be on pretty much constantly. And that's up here in the top left, which means it's sucking steam from down here to up here. And it should keep the steam flowing at a reasonable rate. Well, that's the theory. Not really super important, but it does sort of feel cool, and that's kind of half the fun of this. Alright, let's, while it's going on, let's just finish this off. This should only take another minute or two, and then we really do have to pop back home for a minute. That water tank is drastically overflowing. We need to do one quick trip back home before we can finish this project. Reason being, well, a couple of things. One, we're starting to run out of oxalite here, and we're starting to run low on food, so a little bit of a trip home. We could last a little bit longer, but there's also the fact that our water tank is overflowing. But before we go, there's one thing we need to take care of, and that is this. This is not the research reactor that's damaged, it's the water pipe leading up to it. That water is sticking in the pipe sometimes, and it's staying there for too long. And because it's there for too long, it ends up breaking the pipe occasionally. So we're going to go in there and insulate that pipe with some ceramics. We fired over some ceramics. We need about 800 kilos of this stuff. So it's time to break back in here. I broke back in here to put in some automation wires. But what we did was we stuck an igneous rock tile there, let the steam touch it to heat up the supercoolant. Otherwise, the moment something touched the supercoolant, it would, of course, it would turn to water, and then you'd end up with a blob of water there, and God knows what would happen. This should be fine. Now, we just need to set this up to be replaced by ceramic pipes. We're going to make that a level 9 command, and actually, while we're at it, we're going to take this regular pipe, and we're going to disable auto repair. We don't need anyone repairing that just yet. And, while we're at it, we're going to have to turn off the reactor. We don't want anyone putting any fuel in that reactor. Well, we're not turning it off, we're just saying don't put any fuel in that reactor because it would cause us problems. And at the same time, perfect. Now, this is just a drip lock. We have a blob of supercoolant right there, a blob of supercoolant right there, vacuum in the middle. This means that nothing should be able to escape out of here, though these things are notoriously unstable and have occasionally failed. It's just a case of don't rely on them too much. Use them temporarily and then make sure you reinforce them with some bricks or something like that. It's just more if a duplicate breathes out when they're on it, or flatulent dupes, or there's other issues that can cause them. Sometimes on reload, I don't know, I prefer not to use them, and if I do use them, I only use them temporarily. Despite having fuel delivery disabled on the research reactor, they still went ahead and chucked a whole bunch of it in there. God damn it, guys. That was not the plan. Why? Fine, we'll just have to deconstruct it. And what's the temperature near? 178. Okay, we'll sweep it out first, and then once it's swept, we're going to get you to deconstruct the reactor, drop all that uranium on the ground, and then we'll sort it from there. Reactor deconstructed, everything in position. We're going to build this again, and then we're going to immediately get those duplicates out of there, lock the door, and not let them back in so they can't mess things up again. God damn it, I really thought with the automation wire telling them not to engage, they would have just left it, but... Duplicants, duplicants, duplicants. I really don't think that automation wire does what it says it does. Man, maybe it only counts for auto sweepers. Maybe it's the auto sweepers that can't use it once it's disabled. Because duplicants can definitely still come along and chuck enriched uranium in. Perfect. It's built. Water's flowing in. We've replaced those tiles with ceramic. Nice. Oh, the water for the steam turbine, or the reactor, is siphoned off the steam turbine outputs. So when the output from the steam turbine immediately goes up into this pipe network here and gets queued up. If there's ever a break in the flow because the steam turbines weren't on for a while, there is some emergency water that comes in, though it shouldn't happen realistically. What are we at? 90. Yeah, so long as these steam turbines are kicking in every so often, should be grand. Okay, everyone's out of there. Let's brick this sucker back up again. Seal them back up. No worries about anyone getting in or out of there. Shouldn't have any more issues, though. I will probably put some insulation on, replace those pipes with insulation at some point to make sure that can never break again. And I think with all of that done, it's time to fly home. Though we want to brick up this area first. Reason being, that exhaust is going to be radioactive, and we would prefer not to cook our base in here. So, yeah, we're going to replace those tiles with insulated tiles. We're going to replace these airflow ones here. I'm pretty sure there'll be some exhaust out to the side, but maybe we'll be fine? Or, you know what? We'll find out when it lifts off. Before we launch home, there is one thing I would like to demonstrate before we go. That is this over here. Interplanetary launchers. Can they work when they're submerged underwater? And what we've done is we filled this one up with over 200 kilos of water. We are going to change its destination to there. That's our home planet, but it selects water anyway. Then what we do is we fire this sucker up here. You know what? Give us 100 and whatever. That will do fine. We will turn you on for 1 second. Let's make this nice and slow so we can keep track of it. So that gets launched up there. Hits this, which then deflects it over here, which launches it up here, which deflects it up here, and we're able to get through that little diagonal thing. Don't put that there. I tried putting that there first, and we just bash straight into the wall. You need to be one tile away, it seems, at least at this angle. Then that launches that across over there, and the gun goes, yep, we are good to go. And it just launched a shell from underwater, which, yeah, that is actually pretty cool. Unfortunately, we're under a solid obstruction, so what happens? And it just went straight through it. Look, what? What the hell? And there we go. It turns out you can just fire stuff straight through the ground and the game doesn't care. And just launch it right into space. Boop, boop, boop. And if we check the star map here, they should be, yeah, there we go. On their way. I had no idea I needed to know that, but now that I know that, that's just amazing. Oh, damn it, that's at the 2 kilos. I didn't need the 200 kilos. Well, there we go. That's how you launch stuff from a planet underwater on your secret base. People will be just looking down at the surface of your oceanic layer, and then suddenly all these shells will just start flying up at them. All right, let's get the crew together and launch back home. We got to do a little bit of water tank expansion. The launch that concerns me is this one down here, contaminating our base. It shouldn't be, hopefully, too problematic. That one there is going to contaminate that section, but that's sort of to be expected. Come on. What are you doing? Shouldn't you be on a rocket somewhere? Or getting onto a rocket? How did you get left behind? Oh my god. This one's already launching, that one's already launching, so yeah, you missed, why? 1 minute while I do some working out. I think I know what happened here. Chief Multihat and Joel were the two that I sent down here on the pods. So they got removed from the crew, which is why when I launched this, it did that. But that's okay. That's fine. Let's make sure nothing weird is happening down here. How are we looking on gases front? Nothing weird on the gases. Radiation-wise, okay, we were expecting a little bit of that. That's fine. I think the first thing to do is bring that rocket straight back, land it again, and have the crew actually fully get on board. We don't want to leave two people behind with no atmosphere toxin and just, you know, let them suffocate to that. That would be rude. Great, we're going to be just dumping more heat and radioactive waste into our secret base. That's, yeah, maybe not as secret as we would like. This worked out very well over here, though. I don't see any real... Well, I don't see any nuclear waste just lying about. We did end up with some nuclear fallout, but that's to be expected. And how are we looking over here? Oh, God. Oh, damn. That is, Don't worry, that'll disappear. We'll just be left with some very funny-looking fish, if there were any fish here. That was, Yeah, that's a lot of rads. Dear Lord, that is so many rads. There's 3,000 rads there. Oops, and it's only going to get worse. We'll be back later, hopefully after some of that radiation's died down. Oh my God. Yeah, why don't you just head over there, guys, to attempt to begin the launch sequence and get out of here. I reassigned them as crew. They'd been removed as crew due to the being dropped down in the pad. What the hell was that? I just saw those air bubbles rising up. I'm like, where are they coming from? Polluted oxygen and chlorine? Alright. I think I need to be more careful. Anyway, we'll cut back in once we get back home and we can start work on our new water tank extension. While we're flying back home, I thought we'd cover something beautiful they just introduced. It's like they heard my cries. Interior building restrictions. Buildings with their access restricted cannot be operated while grounded, though they can still be filled. This means you won't have people, like if we set this on, that means people won't be randomly running into this rocket to use it as a toilet when it's on the ground. Instead, they'll use the facilities on the ground as opposed to the facilities in the rocket. Yes, this is a beautiful quality of life change. Thank you so much, Clay. With the second crew finally returned home, we can get started on digging out the magma biome. This is going to get a little messy. Oh, and we should enable the auto-delivery on those. We want those replaced. Alright, down at the bottom of the map here, I'm thinking we're going to extract this whole area here. We're going to core all of this out and extend our water tank down. In fact, we're going to swamp those oil reservoirs. I was thinking about doing a petroleum boiler at some point, but honestly, this nuclear power has been so useful that I just don't see the point. It just, there's no need to do it. So, this all has to go. If we want to store water in here, we're going to need to get rid of all of the hot rocks. There is just an awful lot of them here. And the first thing I did was I disabled the storage of igneous rock and obsidian in our central storage location up here. This little drop-off we've got. And because it won't be stored there, we need to find somewhere else to store it. I'm thinking we're going to dump it in here. I mean, there's a whole bunch of heat left in that. We can find a way to utilize that. We just got to find the right place to put it. The right place to put it should be right in there. We can stick a couple of automated drop-offs on your side. Actually, we'll stick in a couple more down here and we'll dump it right on top of this tile. Then we can surround it in some diamond, do a few things. The only thing we're going to dump into these automatic dispensers is igneous rock and obsidian, because that's the majority of what's down here. There's going to be a little bit of steel and, oh, actually a fair chunk of diamond. That's okay. We can handle a little bit of heat getting dumped into our centralized storage, but we just can't handle this much. Like the igneous rock and the obsidian we'd end up with a lot of heat being generated at a place we don't want it. So down here, though, we can definitely utilize that and help keep this place going. The reason we don't dump it into the reactor itself with this steam room, be uncontrolled. You dump 900-degree rocks in there, it's just going to overheat the place. Well, the amount we're dumping in. A small amount you might get away with. We could also do some things with maybe some conveyor rails to rotate it through. No, too much effort. Instead, we're going to dump it all down here on this one tile. We'll just do a quick sweep command. And I've left a few places open. See, the thing is, we're going to be sealing this whole place off and dumping the bottom of the water tank in here. But first, we're going to left some gaps here and here so that people can get in and out and quickly dump all of the resources right there. And I just got to make sure they do dump them in the right location. I'm even going to sweep, actually, yeah, we'll sweep over here as well. This place could use a good... And save. There we go. Take all of that, everything, and dump it in there. And we'll even get the last of this stuff here. Come on. Just, no. I'll grab that last tile in a second. We're going to do a few things to make sure that it transfers the heat better, because we're going to have an awful lot of mass there, and we're going to want to slowly drain all that heat out as much as we can. And that, yeah, this is going to be a long sweep job. Jesus. There's polluted oxygen in here. It seems to be coming from this polluted dirt down here. Why is there polluted dirt down here? How did polluted dirt end up down here? I can't conceive of how this got here. There's no way. It just doesn't seem plausible. Really, no. This place has been a vacuum for God knows how long. Oh, yeah. This is awkward. Okay, we'll have to just vacuum the whole place out again. But god damn, that's annoying. Where did you even come from? I can't. Where? There's no place even anywhere nearby remotely where the polluted dirt could come from. I mean, maybe if it landed over here, I'd be like someone was doing... No, even then I still can't. I can't grasp where that came from. It just... All right, let's get on with the day then. Thankfully, there's only a tiny amount. So we've got milligrams down here. Yeah, and micromilligrams up there, whatever the hell it's called. So we should be able to pump that... Oh, let me double check. I'm pretty sure this is a waste pipe, but let me double check. Oh, damn it. Yeah, then it goes up there, and yeah, it is a waste pipe. What is this set to filter out? Natural gas. Yeah, so that will hopefully get rid of all of that. In fact, it's so little down there that once we start getting some of it out, it will just start actually causing it to... Once you get it down to small enough numbers, it just vacuums itself out naturally. So, yeah, I think we should be good. Even with the sheer size of this room, we should quickly be able to get it under control. As is, the amount in there is so tiny, it's not actually raising the temperature in here all that much. The gas is boiling hot, but you'll see it's not really transferring it to the ladders or the walls or anything. I've also stopped all movement through this section down here. If we bring up the gas overlay, you'll see the gas never got into this section. This is our heat funnel that goes all the way to the end here, which we really should be extending. But we don't need it just yet, so it can wait a little bit until we get this mess cleaned up. Where did that polluted dirt even come from? Could I imagine it was a dead animal that died and left some polluted dirt behind, maybe? Oh, maybe it was entombed at the bottom. Oh, early on, when the magma was here, maybe something fell down to the bottom, like a piece of meat or something, and got entombed in the magma as it solidified. Oh, that might actually have been it. No, I'm not going back that far in the footage. Never mind. This sweeping is taking far too long, so instead we're just going to throw down some automation here, just to at least move it closer. God, I should have really thought, yeah, that there was quite a few tons. Oh, and as for the gases, we've got them sort of under control. They're starting to dissipate now. We threw in a couple of extra pumps here, just to speed things along. But yeah, give me another 5 minutes. I think we're just about finished. We are just about ready to actually open this area up. We're just going to do a little bit more sweeping. I started daisy chaining these along just to get this cleaned faster. It's taking too long to get them all out of here otherwise. Now we just got to get the steel out of there, and the rest of the debris is all up there. That's soon going to be far over the side, and we can quickly dump into that section. Then we can seal this up and maybe seal it in across here, and that will give us this much extra water space, which should keep us going for like, what, 50, 60 cycles at this rate? So, if you're going to drop the bottom out of your water tank, do it with style. And there we go. Okay, that was totally worth all the time and effort. Let's just see. Oh, actually, I'm looking at the top. Oh, it still hasn't, the top hasn't even noticed that the water's disappearing. Yeah, that might take a minute or two for the top of the map to catch up with the bottom. But that is basically an entire map's worth of water tiles that have suddenly started falling. I'm surprised the game is still running as well as it does. How's it looking up there? Yeah, oh, the top is slowly starting to fall down. You can actually notice the patterns in the water as it goes up. It's sort of just this repeating pattern. Oh, an air pocket actually formed. Well, the vacuum pocket, I suppose, because the water was falling so rapidly. All right, interesting enough, but I think that's a good extension of the water tank for today. Maybe we should get on with some other projects, but... Oh, actually, wait a minute. I think we can extend this up just a little bit more right here. I think this little section in here can be added onto our water tank. We'll lose another oil well, but who cares? As for the liquid tank at the top, it's finally starting to squish down on one side. We've actually made ourselves some more space. Not enough to actually claim back the space biome, but maybe let it settle down a bit more. We're getting a little bit more water pressure down the bottom. We're just sealing this up now, and I'm going to try and install a liquid lock over here. After our experience on the aquatic planet Wateto, we're definitely feeling a lot more confident about opening this up. We can actually give ourselves an access point around here. Let's make sure we've got ourselves a couple of blobs of petroleum. The water will get compressed. The airflow tiles should stop anything from cracking. We should be able to easily dig our way in here. So we'll just put one tile there. And then it'll just be a case of taking out a couple of tiles there, a couple of tiles there, and we should have an access point down near the bottom. Because as it is, our dupes have to go all the way up to, was it the top up here, before they can get into the tank. And oh wow, look at how much that water dropped. It did have to compress an awful lot. Damn, that gave us an awful lot more space. Well, we'll chuck on a little bit more here now, and that should hopefully mean we don't have to come back at this for a long time to come. Well, that's the hope. We're going to open up this liquid lock here now, and this should hopefully not crush us to death. Actually, let's put in some security features. I think a couple of security features might not go astray here. Yeah, there was a couple of good suggestions in that one. Basically, put in a mechanized airlock with a liquid sensor. So if we get some automation, stick in a hydro sensor right here, automation wire across. Then what happens is, if this detects any liquid at all, we close that door, and we say, make that airflow tiles. Yeah, that should seal it all in nicely. That will make sure nothing can escape out. In theory. We'll open this up in a minute and find out. There we go. Safety features in place. Now, you can go there, you can go there, and that should get us into the water tank. Right, let's just hope nothing untoward happens here. I would really hate to flood the map now. I mean, at the end we might just strip everything out and flood it, but for now, I'd prefer to at least keep this water where it's supposed to be. Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. Pressure rising. That should hit 1,000 kilos. Petroleum's like, no, ain't moving nowhere, bud. Right. Okay, we got a way in and out of the water tank at a nearby location. Down here we are just stripping out the atmosphere. There's actually a bunch of gas piping here from when we stripped out some other atmosphere from, oh yeah, atmosphere from the main tank. So, pretty easy to wire that sucker up, and we'll be done in no time at all. Once that's finished, we can then let even more water in there. Actually, this tank might not be as big as the last one. Never mind. This time around, we're not going to, well, do any presentation-y type stuff. We can't really do it with the way this is set up. So we're just going to chop this whole thing off and let the water flood in. And does that look? Yeah, looks about normal. It's weird working with water quantities this size. I remember back when this game originally started, water was one of those things that you used to run out of. It was the main decider of how big your base could be. You'd only have cool steam vents. There was none of these water vents. So you used to hold on to water like it was incredibly precious, because it was. It was both your food and your oxygen, everything. In fact, you used to just try and find other sources of food just so that you could hold on to your water supplies. And now it's, yeah, now we build water tanks this size because we just can't let go of the stuff anymore. Well, okay, I can't let go of it. Also, I kind of like the size this water tank has got to, and I just don't know where to stop at this point. You have to give it to this game. It's holding up to this much water moving around quite well. It hasn't really slowed down at all. You can see there that it's all sunken down on the right hand or the left hand side here as the water slowly gets sucked into the cavity. But yeah, game is just not bothered by this at all. Still running at the exact same speed. Okay, it's a little bit chuggish, but that's namely due to the fact that the game is, we've done so much and we've taken over so much of the map and built so much junk across so many planets. Not to do with the actual water we're messing with right now. While doing some maintenance back here, I noticed that there was some oxalite falling down here. Not the first time I'd seen it. So I went up to see, well, find that puffed and kill it, because it's just going to be dropping oxalite, which is going to produce errands for my pawns. So I found the puffed over here, and also 3 eggs, and then another egg over here, and then a whole bunch of puffs. I think puffs like to congregate in the top right of the map, it would appear. We're going to have to take care of that, because they're just causing more work for our pawns. Good luck. Now, water-wise, yeah, I think we've got enough space in the tank to last us a while longer. That is that's a reasonable-sized water tank in some dimension, I'm sure. I think it's time we head back to Watato and finish off our job there. Oh, one last thing before we go. There was this down here. I did have a plan to sort of encase this in diamond, put in a liquid vent in there and dump in a bunch of supercoolant so this whole thing would exchange heat better. But then I was like, that's an awful lot of effort. I'll just leave it there. I'll come back to it at some point, and if we do want to extract the final heat out of it, we can get around to it. Realistically, though, I want to get back to Watato. There is a whole bunch of bristle blossoms that need to be planted, and we need to go for the cooling solution, and there's a bunch of other things that need doing, and we can't do that while we're not here. I think I know the reason why one rocket is faster than the other. I think it's because there's more mass on them. It depends how many modules you have on and the weight of the modules. That would explain why there's that slight difference in speed. Here comes our second rocket now. It still kind of gets me how that stuff can just, yeah, we're just going to land entirely in an ocean. No bothers at all. Physics be damned. Alright. Oh, and for those of you who are wondering, there was a few questions about light and water. Yeah, light has a bit of a problem going through water. It gets through about maximum of 5 tiles. There's 4 there, a little bit on top, so can't quite make it. That's why solar panels don't work underwater. A little bit unfortunate, but that's fine. We can make our own light. It's called radioactivity. After getting everyone settled in, I realized I had made one mistake. I hadn't refueled this rocket before we came back, so we're a little bit low on rad bolts. So I think what we're going to do is, well, we're going to try this sucker launching a long shot. And that should go up there, bounce off that, hit that, and then start heading this direction. You know what? Let's make sure all the crews stay in their rockets. Don't want any of them doing anything stupid like getting in the way of some rad bolts. Oh my god, that thing... The game is chugging like crazy. It does not like rad bolts traveling through water. What are you doing? I told you to stay in the rocket. I told you, don't get out of the rocket. Stay. We're going to get them to just move back out of the way, slow the game way down, and make sure they don't do something stupid like run right into a rad bolt. We just need a couple to make sure the rocket gets back. Can you get down without getting hit? Can you? No. Yep, you got out of the way the second one. Good job. No. Okay. That's fine. You're running underneath those ones. That's good. Next time, crew up, then start launching rad bolts like a lunatic. Yeah. Where were we? Ah, yes. I think we're going to seal this in, and we're going to tuck that in right there beside this section. This thing here is giving off plenty of rads that we can use. There's about 415 rads there because of nuclear waste. We use that to charge this, and then we're going to use that to fire the food back later. Much later from now. Also gives us a nice power draw consistently on our nuclear reactor. So what we want to do here really quickly is cram in a rad bolt generator really fast, and then seal up this section here. Then what we can do is we can put an insulated tile right there, and oh, yeah, that's still going to cause this gas in here to get a bit hot, but do we care? You know what? We'll stick in a gas pump. Right there. Done. That should solve the problem. The one problem we face here, though, is that airflow tile is going to let air flow from one side to the other. So what we want to do is replace that with an insulated tile. This won't break because it's got 2 extra tiles of pressure behind it, or 2 extra tiles behind it, so once you have 3 tiles behind something, water pressure can't damage it. Also, 1 tile of airflow does the same thing, but we want to cut off that airflow. And... done. Okay, we lost a blob of something. How much oxygen was that? 200 grams. Not that bad at all. Let's just make sure we don't get any pressure damage. And finished. And let's just suck out the last of the oxygen, and then there'll be a vacuum area in here, which should prevent any of the heat from there getting out. Perfect. That leaves us with this whole area here to turn into accommodation for our dupes. Let's see what we can squeeze in here. That's going to be our little 2 bedrooms, a small mess hall. It's not even going to be a great hall, it's just going to be a normal mess hall. And we're going to keep it as far away from the reactor as possible because there will be a little bit of radiation coming off of that thing. Though with a few granite tiles in between or in these rock tiles, we should have enough insulation to prevent anyone getting any serious amounts of rads. Now we are going to have to put in a bathroom and some carbon skimmer. I think carbon skimmer goes down here and probably the bathroom on top of it. This section down here is going to be our bathrooms slash carbon skimmer slash, well, everything to do with cleaning out the carbon dioxide here. If you check on the gases, you can see, yeah, this is actually causing a little bit of a vacuum problem every time the carbon dioxide touches it. That's fine. The carbon dioxide pressure is really low down here. Bathrooms will be down this section because, well, it's right beside the water sieve. Water sieve is going to be in range of this auto sweeper, and we're going to fill that up with sand. So this should automatically take care of itself. We want our dupes to be focusing entirely on doing their jobs, which will be, well, bristle blossoms. Lots and lots of bristle blossoms. Also, the toilet may look a little bit odd. That's because I rotated it. I didn't even realize you could rotate toilets, but we've rotated it for no other reason than I just wanted to see what it looked like rotated. And if you can't remember what it looks like normally, we'll just go back to our home base here and we can see, where is it? Yep, there's the doors reversed on the opposite side. So there's the way they normally look, and there's the way they look now. Turns out the toilet roll goes on the opposite side. Oh, and it is actually properly positioned toilet roll. And I'm pretty sure I just annoyed about 50% of the viewers there by saying that's the right way to put toilet roll on a ring. Anyway, next up we want to put in cooling. Now, cooling is going to require an aqua tuner, and I was thinking, since this steam turbine is pretty much on constantly, we stick in the aqua tuner here. That means the steam going by it will immediately be consumed by the steam turbine above it. Well, that's the theory. Realistically, I should put it down here. When it comes to these things, normally what you do is you have all your heat generation in one spot and all your cooling in one spot, so the two of them even out, and then that travels across the map. Well, it travels through your steam room. Otherwise, what you need to do is put temperature shift plates everywhere, and we'd prefer not to. So you'll notice on this thing, all of the cooling that comes out of the steam turbines, as in all the 95C water, it's dropped out down right here at this center point. All the heat that's generated by this nuclear reactor is actually dropped out as water, superheated water, but it's not actually steam, it's superheated water, so it drops down all the way to the bottom here before, well, its heat gets released. Same with nuclear waste, it all drops down here, so all of our heat is being dropped down into these tiles right here, and all of our cooling has been dropped down right beside it, meaning we should have an even temperature gradient. Over here, though, this will be a little bit risky, but I want to give it a try just to see. Now, that does leave us with a bit of a problem, though. We need to get those pipes out, and as you can see, it's already a bit of a jungle of piping. Let me think for a minute. That mess there is going to be those pipes escaping out. We're going to have to do an awful lot of changes here. Now, how I was going to do this is... actually, it's probably better if I pop over to the test map to show you what I'm going to try and achieve. Over here, we're putting in 3 beds and 3 mess tables. The reason being, what we want to do is take all these bristle blossoms. We're going to have to freeze them down, deep freeze them. And I sort of want to not fire any over until we've drained the ocean. I want to see exactly how many bristle blossoms we're going to get out of this. Then we'll probably go through a massive cooking spree of cooking them all up into gristleberries and then firing them over. But in the meantime, how are we going to cool down the water? You see, this water comes in at 43 degrees. And all we have to really do is cool it down by, 13 degrees and it should be fine, or 13.1. That's one way of doing it. However, we could just feed the water to the bristle blossoms and then cool the air around them. And then there is also the polluted water vent here, that's fine, but there's also a regular hot water vent. Now, I was originally going to use this hot water vent and feed it into the bristle blossoms, but then I thought, no, we should fire that back to our water tank back home. That water tank back home definitely needs more water in it. We've just produced a whole bunch more new space for it. So let's just have a quick look at the idea. So this here was the idea I was going to pursue before I changed my mind. This is just about 10 kilos of water coming in. This stuff's 56 degrees, or, well, 57 close to. And then we'd feed this into the bristle blossoms, and then what we'd have here is, well, this, for testing purposes, is just a giant pool of supercoolant set to about 27 degrees that we rotate through here to try and keep all the crops active. But you can still see some of them are getting growth halted from the temperature. It's just the water doesn't actually go all the way down, but it is consuming quite a bit of it. But if you check in the tiles, you'll see it's actually... The water gets into the tiles and then immediately starts exchanging heat with the atmosphere, so realistically it's consuming water that's about 30 degrees, well, a little bit above. So up here it's at 34, 35, and then as you get closer and closer to the end, it's actually getting just a little bit cooler, getting into about 33 degrees. But theoretically you could delete heat by keeping the bristle blossoms that way, though they do stall out occasionally. So I think we're just going to go with brute force and cool the water instead, namely because I would need some sort of giant cooling block like this and have all of these giant rotational things going all the way around the plants. This is going to require a whole bunch of materials and supercoolant, and you know what? No. We'll just brute force cool the water and be done with it. Before we can start on this mess, we're going to have to deconstruct most of the pipes that are lying about the place. As well as that, I'm going to get... Yeah, I got some sand over there. We're going to need to pick up some sand off this planet because, well, we need the filtration medium. At the same time, I want to run a power cable all the way up here so that we can charge our beacon, and then we want to rip all of this stuff out. We don't need it up here anymore. We can move this entire exosuit forge setup down here because, well, we've got the power down here and a nice open area to build it in. Another quick thing to change is put in a little layer of petroleum down there. I forgot to put something in this, and it was, yeah, this thing was up to about 350 degrees by the time I got some petroleum down there. Temperature shift plate behind there to draw heat out of the nuclear waste. This should keep this cool forever, and we shouldn't have to worry about it, though I'm still going to have to brick that sucker back in like that. Done. Alright, next up on the agenda, where are we going to put this giant cool box? Actually, never mind, I've just checked the time. I'm already over. I don't know how I'm over on the time already. I feel like I only just started. Well, okay, there was the water tank, I suppose, but never mind. I think... Okay, next episode we're definitely finishing the bristle blossoms out, and we're going to import the crew and get the damn thing fired up, because I really want to start draining this ocean. So I'm going to have to figure out some way to clean up the nuclear waste after we... Yeah, no, I'll worry about that. I'll worry about that the next day. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed, and good luck.